Democracy, as we said in the last video, is rare in history, but it's not in any way new. Democracy starts in ancient Athens, or so the story goes. This has been contested, but certainly the word democracy derives from ancient Athens, and a system developed there where citizens came to the public square to vote on important issues. Not all Athenians could do this, not women, not slaves, but a sizable portion. And Athens was also the birthplace of political theory, political philosophy, what we're doing now. The first serious systematic attempt to rationally assess and describe what society and government should do and how it should be structured. But interestingly, some of the most famous political theories to come out of democratic Athens were not in any way democratic themselves. Political theory really starts with the work of the philosopher Plato and his work, The Republic. Like all Plato's work, it's written in dialogue form. It's almost like a play without much plot or drama, but where a range of different voices and different characters, real historical characters from Athenian life, discuss ideas about politics and present a range of different opinions. But like almost all Plato's dialogues, the main character and the one whose viewpoint we can identify with Plato's own is that of his teacher, Socrates. Socrates is a character in the dialogue. Socrates in Plato's dialogue dismisses democracy as not the best way to govern. He doesn't see it as legitimate. He doesn't see the consent and choice of the ordinary people as granting any kind of legitimacy to the state. He saw democracy as wasteful and disorderly, and he saw democracy as granting a false equality to unequal people. The majority wasn't necessarily right. Ordinary people didn't know what they needed to know in order to govern, and it's knowledge, above all, for Plato that gave a leader or a government legitimacy. His answer to the annoying peasant saying, "How come you get to be king then, eh?" would be, "Well, because I know." Democracy, he felt, granted a spurious equality out of people unequal in what they know and how they think. The people don't know how to institute a just society. All they know was what they saw in front of them. People were enslaved to their senses, he felt. And real knowledge for Plato didn't come via the senses. An ordinary citizen might see such and such a state and believe it looked like a just state, but it was only by thinking, not looking, but by thinking about the abstract idea of justice, the ideal archetype or essence of perfect justice that you could ever properly know what justice is. And that's what philosophers like him did, he believed. And that was really his solution to how justice could be instituted on earth. Plato has Socrates spent many pages describing life in an ideal and just society and how it would be organized and what would be allowed, what wouldn't. And then at a certain point, the other characters in the dialogue say, "Well, this all sounds very good, but how's it going to be achieved, this utopia of yours? How are we going to do it?" And Socrates says, "Well, I know this sounds stupid, but I honestly believe that a truly good and just society can never be achieved unless philosophers take charge." Socrates believed in what he referred to as the idea of the philosopher king. The only way the ideal republic can ever come about is if philosophers become kings or kings become philosophers. A philosopher was someone who had, he thought, liberated himself from the illusion of appearances. Plato illustrates this with a parable now known as the parable of the cave. Normal everyday citizens were like men trapped inside a cave from birth and chained to the wall, looking at shadows of objects cast by the fire against the wall, and they take these shadows for reality and never know any different. But only a small number of people, philosophers like him, manage to unchain themselves, and they can turn round and see the objects that actually cast these shadows, and then they progress onwards and upwards out of the cave and finally stare into the sun of absolute truth. And the sun represents the original ideal of the good, the just, the beautiful, the true. All everyday perceivable good things are only secondary, counterfeit copies of this perfect original idea, this blueprint of justice. So, philosophical enlightenment is almost a spiritual experience, or certainly a metaphysical experience for Plato, and it's only by virtue of this experience that anyone can hope to rule well.